An early trade for crypto-facing companies this morning. First, their strategy, jumping after the company posted better than expected quarterly revenue, noting it has increased its Bitcoin holdings to 604,808 coins. And Coinbase also out with results, beating on the top and the bottom lines for the third quarter, fueled by a resurgence in retail and institutional crypto trading.
Let's stick with earnings. Apple, of course, and Amazon both out with strong earnings after the bell yesterday, capping off what was a big week for big tech. The Mag 7 posting beats across the board this week. NVIDIA is still left to report. Remember, it reports on a different calendar. Next month is when we'll hear from NVIDIA. Joining us now is Tony Wang, Science and Technology Fund Manager at Rowe Price. Tony, given all those earnings this week, I'm just curious, has it changed anything in terms of your approach, either confirming your thoughts about certain investments or perhaps questioning them, given everything we've learned from these earnings?
Yeah, I think it reinforces that AI continues to be the key investment that a lot of these Mag 7 players are making. And I think that what matters going forward is agentic AI, and essentially, just not me and you using ChatGPT, but agents that can execute on decision making and have your context of what's going on. I think that's going to be the really big unlock. I mean, you think about what Amazon talked about on their call, agentic shopping, for example. I think that could be really big. I mean, Microsoft in the office, like having kind of co-pilots that actually are really effective. And so I think that's what I'm looking for. And then the unit economics of it, like make sure it's self-sustaining, and so that these are like positive ROI investments. I think that what really is going to matter for AI investing to continue.
Yeah. All right. So I'll quote from the Amazon call. A lot of the future value companies will get from AI will be in the form of agents. So when you hear that as an investor, do you just go back to the same names, or does it take you to any different areas?
Yeah, well, I think that the large cap players definitely have strong distribution, data, the capital to invest. But I think there's a lot of emerging companies in the small and mid cap that are going to be big beneficiaries. I think on the infrastructure side, there's definitely the bottlenecks of power as well as networking that are seeing a lot of strength there. And then on the application side, there's a whole host of private investments that are more domain specific that are emerging, as well as I think there's a ton of aerospace and defense that could also benefit from better AI systems.
In terms of the market response, obviously Amazon today is the outlier. Meta got crushed yesterday. Alphabet was up a bit, Microsoft down. I don't know. I'm just curious. You surprised at any of the moves at this point?
Yeah, well, I think with this amount of investing and CapEx and then depreciation that's coming through, as well as increased OpEx, I think that that acts as kind of leverage almost on the earnings results. And so when you're investing a lot and you're growing more, it's a big positive. And then I think you miss expectations, it kind of has the opposite effect. And so, but to me, I don't think that what I heard changes the natural arc of AI investment being a really important thing. In terms of driving these large businesses. And I think they are increasingly seeing more confidence in their investments on a multi-year basis.
Tony, a lot has been discussed about Apple and sort of that it's behind in the AI race. When we were talking earlier about CapEx spend, Apple's was much smaller compared to some of the others. I know Tim Cook sort of addressed this, but he also sort of said, look, don't pay attention so much to, in not so many words, but the iPhone sales this quarter just reported, it was only 9 or 10 days worth. We have a very robust demand going forward. Putting it all together, what do you make of where Apple sits right now in the iPhone cycle, as well as what it's spending on CapEx shares under a little bit of pressure here this morning after a generally strong report?
Yeah, I think that on the iPhone cycle, I think we are coming off of multiple year of low upgrades, just coming off of COVID. And so the upgrade cycle, I think, is really well primed to do well. And I think the 17 is actually a really great product, and the features are driving, that upgrade cycle. And then I think you go into a potential foldable cycle next year. And I think that's going to be a nice unlock for what consumers can do and the technology that can fit on top of what they're going to offer with generative AI. In terms of their investments in the AI area, I do think that what matters is that consumers are accessing AI mostly through their iPhone. And as long as Apple is able to keep that within their ecosystem, I'm not sure if they need to necessarily own a foundational model ChatGPT, but they, as long as they can leverage that like they have in Google search, where that proliferates to the App Store as well as they're a part of that ecosystem. I think that's what matters most, and they can do it in a capital-light manner.
Hey, Tony, Street's making note of a series of nice beats and raises out of software. Atlassian, Twilio, we had ServiceNow this week, and then as well as some positive seasonality on some of those names. Are we done sort of arguing that AI is going to destroy everybody in software?
Well, definitely some encouraging results. I think ServiceNow is had strong results on, what they're doing with agents and their AI SKUs. And I think what matters there is that, they are very entrenched in the enterprise ecosystem. And so offering that kind of productivity enhancement to their customers. And then also what's most important, I think, is that the unit economics of offering agents is really positive. And so to me, it was definitely a strong quarter. I think that they're just going to have to manage this kind of seat compression potential versus like driving productivity. And I think it's really going to be who are the real platforms, the lighthouses of the digital ecosystem that's going to be able to like capture that kind of value. And I think it's important to be the platform, not just a feature. And I think that's what the market is kind of wrestling with here.